Hey guys and girls or whoever's watching, welcome to my fourth Spanish tutorial. So without further ado, let's see what we got today. So first, let's recap from our previous tutorial and review our names of sports. So ajedrez, as we know from 2 days ago, means chess. So think of some chess pieces like the bishop and queen wearing headdresses, as that's kind of what they look like. Then basketball is baloncesto, combining balón, the word for ball, and cesto, the word for basket. Then bowling means bolos, which makes sense as it almost sounds like ball, because the ball is a very important part of bowling. Then the words for club, golf, and hockey are all the same, so no translation or mnemonic device needed. Then football means soccer, don't get confused, it's not football. It could be to some extent. And football americano is literally American football. It's basically what we call football. And tennis and volleyball are both extremely similar to their English equivalents. They're tennis and volleyball, respectively. So now let's review our question rules. So unlike in English, Spanish is the only language that uses upside down question marks at the beginning of a question to let the reader know that they're about to read a question. And Spanish also does not include helping verbs in questions. Questions like do or like. So for example, you would never say, do you like playing chess in Spanish? You're literally saying, you like playing chess, but raising your inflection to show that it's a question. But the general order is having a question word like quién, qué, or dónde, then the verb, and finally the subject. So now let's get into our material for today. So as I said in a short from yesterday, today we're going to be looking at answering some questions I presented to you yesterday. Okay. So como eres means how are you. It has the same literal translation as como estás, but it's interpreted differently. That's because como eres usually asks about more generic traits of a person, rather than feelings which are often seen as temporary. So basically you could say that you're using it to ask how someone is as a person, or adjectives that could always describe someone. So here are some examples of adjectives. So if you put yo soy, that means I am, then you get a phrase. For example, alto, like altitude, means tall or high, and its opposite, bajo, as in Baja California, means short or low, because Baja California is geographically below California. And simpático can use either the word sympathetic or how it's simple to be kind. And amigable means friendly, derived from the word amiga or amigo, which means friend. And ocupado looks like occupied, so you can infer that it means busy. And amable is another word for kind that literally means lovable. Then bonito can mean pretty or beautiful, so to help you remember that, just think of a bonnet, which is often decorated pretty well. And hermoso means handsome, and is usually used more in the context of speaking to a boy. Then promedio, you can think of it as a combination of pro, meaning for in Latin, and medio, meaning medium. So you're going towards the medium, in other words, your average. And now here are some more temporary adjectives they can use with yo estoy. That means, that's another phrase that means I am, but you can form other phrases. For example, bueno, as you might have seen in greetings like buenos dias and buenas tardes, means good. And then its opposite, mal, means bad. For example, malevolent means someone has a bad character. And regular, not regular, means okay, which is probably my favorite word, hence the name of my channel. Then emocionado is not emotional, but it means excited. Think of it as describing a very strong emotion. So you're basically emotioned, or affected by a really strong emotion. Then enojado is not enjoying, but angry. You can think of it as being angry over someone's extreme enjoyment of a topic. Then triste means sad, and feliz means happy, which basically are both reviews for previous tutorials. But you can still remember the song Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, to help you remember that feliz means happy. And here's a more basic question that I taught you in the first tutorial, ¿Cómo te llamas? Something I also forgot to mention in the first tutorial when we were going over the alphabet is that double L's are always pronounced as Y's in Spanish. So it's not ¿Cómo te llamas? That means how do you lick yourself, and that'd be weird, but that's not what you're trying to say. ¿Cómo te llamas, on the other hand, means how do you call yourself, but is often interpreted to mean what's your name. So to answer, replace te with me. That's the reflexive form of the word meaning I. And then you just add your name. In this example sentence, you would say me llamo Ethan. That means I call myself Ethan. This is not a literal translation, so make sure in future tutorials not to put es, because you don't want to say me llamo es Ethan, for example, as that would literally mean I call myself is Ethan, and just as it doesn't make sense in English, you can expect that it won't make a lot of sense in Spanish. Right, let's move on. Here's another question that you might see a lot. ¿Qué te gusta hacer? It's translated as what do you like to do? And it's another question that involves the uses of te and me. So to respond, you just replace the te with me. So you would say me gusta, and then if there's a verb, you write it, and then the subject. In this sentence, the subject is the thing that is liked. For example, me gusta jugar el golf. So me gusta is I like, and jugar, as seen in the previous tutorial, means to play, and golf just means golf. So I'll ask all the viewers right now, ¿Qué te gusta hacer? Right, now let's move on. And here's another question that also doesn't literally mean what it says. ¿Cuántos años tienes? So I'm going to keep saying this throughout future tutorials, but Spanish is a very literal language. So in Spanish, you don't say that you are a certain number of years, but you say you have that number of years. And that's because they see age as being accumulated over time, rather than being eternally possessed. So you can't really say, I am 15 years old. I'm actually 16, by the way. You say that I have 16 years, because I've had 16 years to accumulate my age. So when we respond, remember to conjugate by replacing tienes with tengo. I'll get more with that in future tutorials. So you say tengo, then a number, and then años. So the whole phrase, this is actually a typo, it should be tengo 16 años. I'm 16 years old. So here's another question that I'm going to ask to the viewers. ¿Cuántos años tienes? So hopefully now we're all pretty comfortable with answering basic questions, and there will be more questions to cover and more adjectives to learn in the next tutorial. But before I post it, make sure to like and subscribe for more information on Spanish. And, adios!